Hello, my name is Chelsea, and welcome to the second episode of Still Talking to Myself, a podcast where I sit alone in my bedroom and talk to myself. In this episode, I just wanted to talk about anxiety, my anxiety in general. I mentioned it previously in my first video, where I just kind of slightly touched on it, but in this video I want to kind of go deeper and see what I can bring out, and maybe you might find something I say helpful, or you can give me some advice. I'm always looking for advice, anything that can help me. So I've always had anxiety, some form, since I was younger. Technically, I was way more depressed than I was anxious. And then at some point, there was just like this switch that flipped. And then I found myself being way more anxious and not as depressed. I think that switch happened when I was like 15, maybe. Before that, like when I was depressed since I was like 12. I think that's the first time I remember being depressed. But this episode isn't about depression. Maybe we'll go into that later on, but I just want to focus on my anxiety right now. So yes, when that switch happened, all of a sudden I found myself having anxiety attacks and having to step out of my classes and having them in classes. If you've had an anxiety attack or a panic attack before, especially in public, it can be really embarrassing, but there really isn't anything you can do. You just have it. Like, I have this memory that haunts me, almost. I had a panic attack in class, in my Irish class, actually. Thank God, at least it was like towards the end of the class. But yeah, for some reason, I just felt myself getting really, really hot. Like I was having like heat flashes or something at my age. And I remember turning to the girl beside me and I was like, is it really, really hot in here? I can't breathe. And she's like, no, it's fine to me. And I was like, really, I'm literally struggling here. And all of a sudden, my chest just seizes. I can't breathe. It's hot. I start to hyperventilate. And the hyperventilation gets really, really loud, really, really intense. Again, this was in the middle of class. So the teacher at the time, she literally sent everyone out of the classroom. And then the girl who was beside me stayed. She made her stay for whatever reason. And she was kind of trying to help me breathe through it. But oh my God, every time I think about that moment, I'm like, why did that have to happen? Again, not really something you can control, but it's still kind of embarrassing to think about. And a similar thing, not really as similar, but kind of similar thing happened to me in college as well. I'm still in college. It happened to me in my first year. I'm now in my fourth, where I wasn't feeling well. I wanted to go. I was in my photography class. Yeah, and it happened. I don't really want to go into that one. But yeah, it does feel a little bit embarrassing. And the thing is, I held off on getting a diagnosis for so long. I think that was because I was too anxious to, weirdly enough. I was way too anxious to get anxiety diagnosis, because I just felt like maybe it wouldn't be taken seriously. Maybe they'd be like, no, you're fine and it's all in your head. I mean, yes, it is technically all in my head, but you know what I mean. So I only ended up getting a diagnosis a year ago, almost a year ago, generalized anxiety. And I'm now on medication for it, which has helped a lot, helped tremendously. But I think after going back to school, to college for this next semester, my final year, it's made it a lot worse. I feel like I find myself struggling, even to like keep up with work. It's like a lot harder than it was before. Deadlines seem like they're catching up to me. I'm definitely a procrastinator. That's what I am. That is my nature. But I've always been someone who was able to, by the end, still get things done, and get things done to like a good standard, a good level. But recently, I feel them kind of passing me by a little bit. I'm unable to kind of do things to the standards I usually was able to. So yeah, that sucks. And I also started counselling recently, and it's going. I feel like that's all I can really say. I had my second appointment actually this morning, and it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not sure if it's something for me or going to be something for me, because I feel like I'm only hearing things I already know. Like, you know, this is all in your head, it's not real, it's not your fault. Like, I know that realistically. So, yeah, I don't really know. You know, it could also be maybe I don't have the right counsellor, I don't have the right therapist. It could be it's way too early on, you know, it was my second session. But I just felt like afraid that it's not really gonna be of all that much help. Again, I'm gonna give it a lot more sessions, you know, I need to give it some time, I know that. But it is a certain fear. Another thing about counselling is that I kind of feel like I can't be completely honest, you know? Like, I'm constantly trying to fight the urge to lie. I don't know if I'll call it lie. I'm just like not completely saying everything I think or feel. And that's because I have this fear that if I speak too much, I'm gonna like expose myself, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be shipped off to a mental institution. Because, you know, I tend to have really, really dramatic reactions to things. I'm a really sensitive person. So if something goes wrong, I'm like, oh my God, I should just... Anything happens, someone says they're disappointed in me, it's just easier, you know? And I feel like if I bring something like that up, it might be taken really, really seriously. More seriously than I mean. I know it's not exactly like a normal thing. Like, no one wants to just like end it all because it's, you know, something didn't work out. But, you know, it's just a dramatic figure of speech, most of the time at least. Sometimes I low-key like feel it, but then again, I think I just might have PMDD or something, because like, you know, all of a sudden my period started and I'm like, that's why I wanted to yeah. Something I also really struggle with is properly expressing myself or properly like finding the right words to use. I feel like my brain and my mouth just are never connected. It's one of those things where I feel like I'm just a really slow thinker. So like if I'm in a group setting, a group conversation, I find myself falling into that listener person, the listener, where even though I'm listening, I can't really follow it because like, I guess like I'm in my head and I'm thinking about what to say, and by the time I thought about what to say, it's like conversation's moved on. I feel like I don't even know what I'm probably even trying to say right now. Like I'm just kind of jumping from one topic to another. But yeah, I just feel like my brain and my mouth just are never completely connected. And again, when I was talking to my counselor, and as he's talking to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm listening. And he asked me a question and I'm blank. Like there's just no thoughts in my brain. Even if I do have like a certain thought, I don't know how to put it into words. So it's all this mishmash of, I don't know. Or, yeah, I just don't know. I just never know. Because I don't know, it's just like nothing's connected, brain fog, the whole lot. And something he also did bring up was like having your calm places. I don't know how to put that into words either. Things that calm you down, or things that can soothe you, like soothing mechanisms. For me, I think the only thing I really do have is music. I think I can listen to music 24/7. I basically do. I have, all my different playlists. What I tend to listen to when I'm sad or anxious or feel like I can't express myself, I listen to, I don't know, rock or alt. I feel like, I don't know, it just kind of speaks to me more. I think just music in general. I'm more of an indie person myself, but anyway, music. I used to like putting a lot of effort into drawing, but since the course I'm doing right now, which is visual communications, involves so much creativity, I just never feel like drawing. Or I feel like even if I do feel like drawing, it's like I'm wasting my time doing a drawing instead of doing my assignment. Like all that time and effort I spent drawing this useless thing that I'm not going to get a mark on is being kind of put on a higher level of importance than my work, which just doesn't compute. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I just end up not doing any of it. Deadlines and all that jazz. Yeah, definitely exacerbates the whole situation. Deadlines. Hate deadlines. I can't stand deadlines. There's always a looming deadline. Like I spend all my time thinking about, okay, I need to get this thing done for this specific deadline, and it comes and it goes, and I'm like, great, amazing. And then the second like it's been submitted, I'm like, okay, but now there's this other thing, and there's always another thing. It just never ends. And, I've never actually properly considered dropping out. It's just never been a viable... it's just never been on my mind. Like, it's just non-option for me, basically. But, every time something does happen and I get frustrated, I do think, I should just drop out. Even though, it's not an actual thought, it's just kind of like me being frustrated. But like, even if my mental health did get so bad, I had to drop out, I don't even know if I could. I feel like I'd rather than drop out, because like, it just... my older sister, I have an older sister, when she was in college, she went through so much in her final year, like health issue wise, so much. Like, I don't want to go into her health issues, but she went through so much, and she still managed to graduate that year. Didn't have to take a year off anything, had her surgery, all that, and still finished it, still graduated. And I'm like, okay, if she can do that, then I should be able to too. I have no excuse. At least that's what it feels like. Because, like, mental health issues, they're issues that aren't, like, you're not able to see them. Like, for the most part, it's like, I could just be talking out of my ass right now about all these things I'm experiencing, and but like, if you have actual physical symptoms, it's easier to believe and easier to kind of not judge someone for what they're going through. So yeah, I feel like that's just an added layer of I don't know, judgment of myself. I don't know, I can't really find the words. But yeah, it's like, if she was able to do that, and so easily, okay, maybe not easily, but if she was able to, write it out and still submit her work and all that, and have her surgery and still graduate at the end of the year, it's like, what's my excuse? So yeah, that's something that's hard to think about. And how people are always saying, have someone to talk about your issues with, besides your counselor, obviously. Like, do you have people in your life you can talk to about these issues? And I always say yes, just because, like, I don't want to be like, oh no, like, I'm alone, I'm a loner, I'm a loser. But the truth is, like, I just don't feel like I genuinely do. I feel like since I was young, I've always kept people at a distance. I have very little trust in other people. I think it makes it easier for me to let them go if I have to, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really have many friends left from high school. Definitely not from primary school or before then. It's always been that happens, and I'm just like, okay, that's that chapter in my life, just let it all go and start fresh. Especially because, like, I think it's really easy for people to disappoint me in some way. Maybe it's just like, the people who I was around, or like where I grew up, in Ireland. But yeah, I've always been very distrustful of people, and I continue to be that way. Like, I've been trying to be more open and trying to like open myself up to trusting people more. But I feel like every time I try to do that, it's like I get disappointed. Like I hear something and I get disappointed again. I'm like, okay, this is why I don't open myself up to trusting people, which sucks, you know. Like I never felt like I've had a really, really strong, meaningful connection with someone. Like I do have a really good friend now. Love her. Love you. No one knows about this, by the way. Like this here is all just for me, because I think it's just way harder to talk openly and honestly when people you know are listening to you and can, like, I guess, see all of you in this way. But yeah, I do have a close friend, but I feel like there's always that little gap where it's like I can't say everything, because if I say everything, it's all ruined. And you know, family, my parents are my parents. I know people have really strong connections with their parents and they can talk to them about anything, but you know, they're first generation immigrants from Nigeria. Talking about something like mental health isn't really, you know, in the room. There's no room for that for me. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to them. I just don't feel close to them or connected to them in that way. So I can't really talk to them about it. My sister, who I mentioned earlier, love her to death. You know, I'm really happy to have a sibling I'm actually close to and I actually like, because I have heard stories from other people where they don't like their siblings, which absolutely sucks, or like there's jealousy between siblings. But you know, I'm really lucky to have a sibling that I really do like, but I just feel like I can't be completely honest with her about my emotions and how I'm feeling and things in my life, just because she's a little bit of a snitch. I'm not gonna lie, she is a little bit of a snitch. I feel like things I have told her in the past has always made its way back to my parents, or my mom specifically, and it's like, no bueno, can't tell you anything anymore. So yeah, it kind of gives you that really isolated feeling when there is no one you can trust. So I'm trying to get to know more people, and I'm trying to like open myself up to knowing people more. But to do that, you know, I have to go out and meet people and open myself up to people, which is just, it's difficult and it's hard. Maybe if I was living in a different country, in a different part of the world, it might be different, you know. It might just be like a locational thing. Like I live in Ireland, and maybe where I'm living, it's like not the people with the personalities that maybe I click with. Like I don't know if that's the issue, because I think when I was coming to college, you know, it's in the city, like I was really ready to meet new people, to meet more people of colour. I think that's something I was really excited about, because you can share those experiences, you know, the experiences that people of colour just have and just get. And then when I got to college, and to my course specifically, I'm doing a visual art course, basically. I'm doing a graphic design course. So besides me, well, I'm the only black girl in my year. I think in the entire course, the only like fully black girl in my entire course. Yeah. my best friend who I mentioned, she is Pakistani, so we just kind of clicked because, like, we kind of share similar experiences in that way. We kind of have the same thought process, we have the same humor, all these things that kind of worked. And then with other people, it's just, I don't know. These are just my thoughts of the day. In terms of my anxiety, I mean, hopefully it goes down a little bit. I have to submit a thesis proposal next week. There's like a check-in thing for that, assignment. I'm like getting stressed thinking about it, but yeah, I'm gonna hop off of this and I'm gonna try get some work done, I guess. Anyway, thank you so much for watching if you made it up to this point. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Bye. Thank you.